Alabama's Nick Saban had an interesting way of describing the Tide's ugly win over LSU on Saturday. Alabama came away with a 24-10 win against the Tigers, but this game looked different than any other game we've seen the Tide play in this year, even in their 8-point win against Texas A&M. More, Jalen Hurts, Tide D enough to pull out win versus LSU. "I told the players before the game that we haven't been tested with hard," Saban said in the post-game news conference. "Hard kind of defines you, in terms of who you are, and we didn't play great out there today. We had a lot of self-inflicted wounds, but you can't argue with the fight that the players fought with. You certainly can't. That play style is pretty much a necessity when playing against a team like LSU, one of the few teams that can line up across from Alabama and go blow for blow with the Tide." That showed in the stats from Saturday's game as well. LSU actually outgained Alabama 306-299. It limited Alabama to just 5 third-down conversions on 14 attempts and stymied the Tide's normally potent rush offense to just 116 yards. It won the time of possession battle, controlling the ball for 34 minutes of game clock. And yet Alabama never really looked like it wasn't in control of the game. Yes, Alabama's toughest opponent is behind them, but it doesn't get any easier for Alabama this season. The Tide lost 2 of its defensive playmakers and linebackers Sean Dion Hamilton and Mack Wilson. The former's absence in particular will have an impact on this defense, much like it did last year in the Tide's run for a national title. But even more than that, LSU showed Alabama's remaining opponents, number 16 Mississippi State, number 14 Auburn, and, presumably, number 1 Georgia, that the Tide, for all their dominance this season, are still human. That goes for the defense as well. LSU quarterback Danny Edeling stood in the pocket and made some impressive throws. Running backs Darrell Williams and Darius Geese combined for 154 rushing yards. The Tigers tested Alabama's secondary with long bombs that weren't always well covered. How will Alabama react to similar tough situations against the Bulldogs, a team Sporting News picked as the Tide's trap game in 2017? How will Alabama react to an Auburn team that beat Texas A&M handily and now features a quarterback in Jarrett Stidham who looks ready to take on anyone? How will the Tide handle a Georgia team essentially built in their image by a Saban disciple? The answers to those questions likely determine whether Alabama repeats as SEC champions in 2017 and whether it has a legitimate shot at competing for the college football playoff national title. More, Alabama loses playmakers on defense. To be sure, Alabama is better equipped than most teams to handle hard. Just look at Virginia Tech, Ohio State and Penn State, who all went down against opponents against whom they were favored on Saturday. That was certainly something Alabama can be optimistic about. When things got hard for the Tide on Saturday, they made enough plays to come out on top, thanks in part to improved quarterback play from Jalen Hurts. The true sophomore was sacked 4 times against a relentless LSU defense, but still completed the big plays when they mattered most. Hurts, who completed 11 of 24 passes for 183 yards and a touchdown, had a hand in all 5 of Alabama's third downs conversions and completed 7 of 10 passes for 101 yards, while rushing twice for 18 yards on third down attempts. With Alabama's defense taking more hits against LSU, Hurts will need to continue improving as the Tide face similar challenges down the road. It was never going to be easy for Alabama. But now, it's going to be harder.